Wow. Whoa, jeez. Holy cow. Wow, this thing is fast. Hello, drone racers. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Eachine Lizard95. So it's another micro FPV racing drone by Eachine, and the cover gives you a really good sense of what it is. It's an F3 that runs Betaflight, has a 5.8 gigahertz transmitter, like pretty much everything it does here, except it also does include an OSD and a built-in LED strip, which is really nice. Multiple models available. I got the Free Sky, as if you've seen any of my videos you'll understand. And let's take a look at what's inside. So I have already taken a look at the manual, and I'll say this is very similar to the Aurora 68, which has gotten a really bad reputation. Mine has been really good, but I know a lot of people have had problems with them. So what this looks to me is like it's an upscaled Aurora 68, which would make it kind of like an Aurora 90, except it's made for 3S. So back to the manual. The manual is really good, so I don't think I'm going to have to do one of the setup videos and binding and getting everything set up all from scratch like I have with some of the other models, because the manual is just really good. The one concern I have is, did they get the channel map correct? Well, if they didn't, for whoever's setting this up for the first time, the manual is laid out really well. So we're not going to go into too much of that, but it looks to me like if you follow it, it'll be good. Here's the biggie. It comes with a 3S battery, 550 milliamps, 40C right out of the box. So it's still nice and compact, so I think that's pretty good. I'm curious to see how this goes. I bought, let's see, here's an XF Power 3S 600 milliamp. So it's way thicker, and that's actually, there's a huge difference in size between these two. The one that it comes with is a little flatter, will probably fit on the bottom better, but even still, it's just much smaller than what I've got here. So I'm going to be charging this also, and you'll notice the connector, it's an XT30 connector. You don't see these very often, but I think this is a good connector for small 3S batteries, and I'm probably going to standardize on it. The main reason I'm going to do that is because I accidentally bought a whole bunch of these a couple years ago when I was getting started, when I meant to buy 60s, and I ended up with a whole bunch of 30s. So I have them. I will change out the JST connector, which I think is good for 2 cells, but I think might be a little small for the 3 cells, and probably I'm going to standardize on this. So we'll be testing both of these batteries probably within here. We have a connector with several pieces of foam and some rubber bands on it, and a USB connector. So it looks like they've done the same thing. The one thing I didn't like about the Aurora is it has this proprietary connection. Just give me a USB connection for the flight controller. Extra set of props and screws, which is good. Velcro, which I think is great because I always Velcro my batteries onto the quadcopter. It gives that extra bit of strength to go with the rubber bands that you got, or Velcro, or whatever you're using. So just including a couple pieces of Velcro is really handy. Small screwdriver and an Allen wrench, so that'll cover all the pieces needed. Another cable, so still assuming this is the same cable as the Aurora. It's nice to have one, and I like this one. This is the one I used. I never used the other one. And then we get to it, finally, the model, drone itself. So I'm going to start out by comparing it right with the Aurora 68, which I've got here, that I reviewed, that was good for me, but not for a lot of people. And it is a little bit bigger. Not huge. It doesn't have the prop guards, and it has these 5-blade props, which is nice. Look at the difference in the motor size here. These are 1104 motors versus 1102 motors, and look, they're twice as tall. These motors are humongous. Flight controller stack is also larger, but I think the big thing this has over that is there's much more space available here in the stack in the middle, which I didn't really care for the aesthetics of this at first. I went ahead and ordered it anyway, but it's grown on me really quickly, and there's a lot of room to work. Unlike the Aurora, which was kind of fragile and everything was packed in so tight, I broke a couple wires just from a prop bending a little bit, and it cut a wire. It's not going to happen here. I don't think so. And the other thing I see right off the bat is how thick this carbon fiber is. For a little quad like this, this is huge. I don't usually get out the calipers for this, but I'm going to this time. Okay, so I found my calipers, and we're going to check a couple things here. The one I'm most curious about is the base plate here, which just seems like it's going to be super duper thick. Yeah, it is. It's right at 2.5 millimeters, which is really thick for a base plate like this. The top pieces are 1.5, which are not bad. I wish these pieces specifically, maybe make those 2, because those are probably the most likely piece to break. I did see they do have extras available, and while we're here, look, they have teeth. Like, I don't know why. It's purely aesthetic. It serves no purpose except for they have little teeth, because that's cool. Also, you can see the camera has a pretty good tilt on it, meaning it's ready to go out of the box. And that's one of the big advantages I've seen over like the Aurora 100, which is probably its closest competitor. I think a lot of this is just an Aurora 100 in a little bit better form factor. So I have high hopes for this thing. So I'm jumping back in with something I forgot to mention about the camera. One of my favorite features that made me really excited about this camera has selectable power outputs. So it defaults right here, it's 25 milliwatt like you would expect in these, but it's also a selectable 100 milliwatts, which I think is a really good option for one of these size. And I think you'll start seeing that more and more, because 200 is almost too much if you get too many flyers. 25 though isn't necessarily enough, so I think 100 on this is going to be a really good option, and is going to give this a humongous range compared to a lot of the other micro quads out there. So you can take this one, fly it a long way away, not worry about it quite as much because it has this buzzer built in, and be good to go. And the receiver that's in it hangs out underneath, so it should have a really good signal. Hopefully it doesn't twist up and get caught in the props, but it should stay underneath here, and I'm hoping to get an excellent range out of that compared to everything else that I've had recently anyway. I think this is going to kill the range of the King Kong and the Auroras by a lot. So I'm hoping, based on the manual, that this is really straightforward and we don't have to go into beta flight to get this set up. I've already created a new model called a Lizard. This is a D8 receiver, so everything should be set right to go based off of that, and we'll bind, except first we're going to set up a couple switches. In the manual it says there are 3 switches, so switch 1 is ARM, which I will set here on SA. Switch 2 is the mode switch, which is, as I've said before, the one thing I don't like on this radio. It's only a 2-way switch. Probably going to be changing on my review when I get to that later. But that is set to the mode switch, and then it does have a built-in beeper or buzzer. So I'm going to set that. I set that on SC here, which is the same one I use on all my radios. It doesn't seem to be an OSD on or off program by default. So then we go into the mixers and just set these so they match up with the other channels. So hopefully that just works right out of the box. So then we're going to go in and bind it. Set this to bind. So the bind button is way up here. I've got a spare modeling paintbrush. I don't want anything metal. Connect that in. Be much easier with 2 people. LED I think is off. So there we go. We'll turn this exit out of here. ARM switch is off. Connect the battery.
Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
There we go.
RSSI critical. Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
It's too close. It says it needs to be half meter away, but just plugging it in.
Lost. Telemetry recovered.
Thank you, Amber.
RSSI critical.
So we're going to unplug the battery there. And that means we did get it bound. So I just pressed it in, plugged it in, let go, and it was all connected. So now I'm going to put the Velcro on here. So I looked around a little more and I think I figured it out. It comes with 2 pieces of foam. There's another one in the bag. But it goes between these, and it's definitely cut to fit between these posts. So that gives you a nice cushion. And then I stuck the Velcro on here, and then it's going to give it a really nice surface to connect to. So now it fits really well. Without that foam, it was just kind of funky. Now this piece of Velcro will fit and work. But there it fits, and it looks really nice with that. It is gonna look a little wonky with this one. That's a big battery, but we're gonna try it later. So what we're gonna do next is set up so we can answer the question everybody always has: how long does it fly? So we're gonna do our traditional hover test. So, lesson 1, the Eachine Lizard defaults to acro mode. It does not default to stable mode. So, just so you know, that video was a little crazy. When it first took off, I was not expecting that. That's the first one of these I've had that actually did that. I flipped the mode switch and it switched to air mode, but it was still in air mode as part of acro mode. So I'm gonna actually go change that around before I fly it, just so I can do some testing outside tomorrow. It's definitely easier to do some of those testings by myself when it's in stable mode. So, but it flew really nice. It flew for a long time. That was like, I'm gonna call it about 7 minutes. There was some landing and some takeoffs and a couple things in there, but it was about 7 minutes of flight, which is a long time for one of these. So that means it'll probably fly in acro mode when you're actually outside for 4 or 5 minutes at least, which is really, really good. I'm really impressed with that battery. That was nice, and it flew really nice. Once I knew what mode it was in, it wasn't too hard to control. There were still a few times where it's a small area I'm trying to stay on, but it did a good job. So one thing I will point out that seems a little weird, the camera should be upgraded, but the way it's installed is a little weird. They actually have to rubber band it in, which they didn't do with the Auroras, and I think it's because this is kind of an Aurora style base here where it's offset. Is that offset? No, that's not offset. I think just to hold it in a little better, it's got these rubber bands. I wish that was a little cleaner, a little nicer, the way that fit in there, but hopefully that gives a good video signal still. But we're going to charge up this battery, and next we'll try it outside after I change the modes. Which, if you need to do that, I'll link to one of my other videos here where I've gone through that settings multiple times here. We don't need to do it on this one. Okay, so we're here on an early morning test flight. I did change and enable stable mode on it last night, just so I like to take off that way before I switch it to acro mode. Now, let's see how it flies outside. So I did test my failsafe before we take off here, just to be safe. Want to make sure. Air mode, stable mode, everything looks good there. We are armed, and let's go. Wow, this is powerful. Holy cow. Little 3S battery on this thing. We're still in stable mode. I haven't made any changes yet. Pretty shaky though. Man, it looks really strong. So we're gonna have to do a separate video on how to fix the clean flight OSD. Wow, this is fast. How to fix the artificial horizon, because it's garbage. So there we go. There we're in air mode, and wow, it's fast. Whoa! Now don't want to go out too far to the golf course because they are watering the lawn out there. This thing is so fast. Wow! Wow! Whoa! Jeez! Holy cow! Wow, this thing is fast. I'm still in just 25 milliwatts for the transmitter, so I don't want to go too far. But wow, is it fast? Wow. So I am not a expert freestyle pilot by any means. Wow, but I'm somebody who is. We do have, I think it needs some beta flight tuning. The stock PIDs seem a little shaky, but the stability seems really good. Wow. Super impressive. A lot of prop wash. Maybe because of the five-bladed props, the prop wash is really bad, but I know a lot of the people have done a lot of tuning recently on this thing. Holy cow, is this fast? Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. This is faster than my 5-inch quad. Now, I have an old 3S 5-inch quad, but this thing is crazy. I'm a little scared of it, actually. So, quality-wise, it seems great. The video though is not amazing. It's a little shaky. It's a little jittery. It needs a little more camera angle, which it has available to it. So the camera angle on it seems good. If you are flying inside, you can make it almost level, which would be good, about what you want inside. Maybe a 10-degree tilt, maybe a little more. But here I'm just kind of cruising, and that's just about right. It could already even use a little more camera angle. This thing is faster than I am, though. I'm not a good enough pilot to really take advantage of it. The camera quality, still not as good as the Eachine 110S. Or not 110S, 10S. Oh, well, holy cow, there's the battery alarm. We're not going to make it back.
Telemetry lost.
That was bad. So I ran it way too low. I need to set a timer. I got way out of control there. Let's go disconnect that before I destroy the battery. Holy cow, it's so fast. That thing is awesome. It definitely needs some tuning. I think it's just using the default Betaflight PIDs. So I'm going to update Betaflight on it and use some of the prop wash modifications, the filter changes, and see if that makes a difference, because it did have quite a bit of prop wash. I think partially due to these 5-blade props, but it's so fast, and I had great control of it. It was pretty dark out there, so it'll definitely do better with a little better light. The camera's not amazing, but it's so fast on that 3S. Set a timer. Wow, I might have smoked that battery. It seemed to be okay. My charger is taking care of it, and it's doing a low voltage recovery, but it got really low, so set a timer. I wasn't paying close enough attention. But this thing is great, and it seemed really stable. A little shaky, like I mentioned, but some tuning, I think we'll get rid of that. Camera angle, you do have adjustments here, so you can get it nearly flat. If you pull this, loosen these screws, pull this up, and if you're going to fly inside, which I wouldn't fly this inside, this is, in my opinion, not an inside flyer, but then you can also go back and you can get more of an angle to it, which is probably what it needs. With my ability level right now, it's probably just about right, but some of you real big racers out there can take advantage of this thing at full tilt. I would take this thing racing in a heartbeat. I've had several I've wanted to take a micro racing. I would take this racing in a heartbeat and probably race it over my bigger quad. Plenty of battery power, super duper fast. It's going to fit through a 5-foot gate without any problems. On just the first battery pack outside, I would highly recommend this thing. I think it's going to be really durable with this big carbon and as light as it is. I think it's going to stand up. The one piece that might be a problem are going to be these pieces up here, which some people will just take them off because they don't care and they don't plan on crashing on the top anyway. I like it because it's going to protect here, but they are super cheap. They're like $1 for a pair to replace them. But that's going to be the end of this video. If you found this useful, go get one of these. There's links down below where you can go get one. They're brand new, just came out as of the time I'm posting this. Highly recommended. It's awesome. I can't wait to get home after work and fly another pack. But if you did find this useful, leave a like down below and a comment with what changes you want me to make to this. Do you want to see a video of me doing the updates and all the changes that we can to it, the PID tuning, the clean flight upgrade, prop wash setting modifications to see what we can do get out of this thing? Because I think with a little tuning, this thing will be amazing for everybody. But until next time, remember, Lizard beats paper and Spock.